All right, this is section 8.1, applying exponent properties involving products. So the very first thing we're going to learn about is called product of powers property. So to multiply two products together, you are really adding them. So the bases have to be the same. So this A right here is considered a base. So the base has to be the same, and what you do is you add the exponents. For example, so 7 to the third times 7 to the fifth. This would be, we both have a base of 7, so this would equal 7 to the 3 plus 5. So that would equal 7 to the 8th power. All right, the next problem, 3 squared times 3 to the 7th. So they both have a base of 3, so this would be 3 to the 2 plus 7, which would equal 3 to the 9th power. So we're not actually calculating these. We are leaving what's called an exponential. We're answering using an exponent. So we're not actually calculating these. We're figuring out what the exponent is. So 5 times 5 to the 9th. So this one's kind of tricky. They both have a base of 5. This problem actually has an exponent of 1. So this would be 5 to the 1 plus 9, which would equal 5 to the 10th power. Okay, so if we look at the next one, negative 5 to the third times negative 5 squared. So they both have a base of negative 5. So negative 5 to the 3 plus 2, which would equal negative 5 to the 5th power. Okay, x squared times x to the 6th times x. So again, you have to remember that this x right here has a little 1 as an exponent. So this is x to the 2 plus 6 plus 1. So this would equal x to the 9th power. Okay, so the next property we're going to learn is called power of a power, or I would say most often you would see this written as power to power, is how I normally say it, power to power. And this basically means an exponent raised to another exponent. So notice you have a to the n power, and you have parentheses around it, and it's getting raised to the nth power. So this would, when you have this happen, you multiply your exponents. So for example, 3 squared raised to the 3rd power. So this is power to a power. So you're taking 3 to the 2 times 3 power. So this would equal 3 to the 6th power. The next problem is 2 to the 4th raised to the 3rd power. So 2 to the 4 times 3 power would equal 2 to the 12th power. Okay, 5 to the 2 times 8 power, or 5 to the 2, 5 squared raised to the 8th power is how you would word that. So you would take 5 to the 2 times 8, and that would end up equaling 5 to the 16th power. Okay, so this one looks a little bit different because we have a negative. That bracket right there is just signaling that you have negative 2 raised to the 2nd power and then raised to the 9th power. So this is really the same thing as, well, it's not, because that would be a negative raised to the 2nd power. So that's why there's brackets there, because if not, you would have to take a negative 1 raised to the 2nd power and a 2 to the 2nd power. So this is negative 2 to the 2 times 9 power. So that equals negative 2 to the 18th power. Okay, so this one is not any different, except we don't have a number as our base, we have a variable. So this is x to the 4 times 6 power, which equals x to the 24th power. Okay, and then the same thing here, except here we have a -6. So x to the 4 times -6, which would equal x to the -24th power. Okay, so power of a product property. So basically, if you have a times b raised to the nth power, that's this. You can distribute that exponent to both a and b. So I would write that down. All right, so the first problem, 2 times 8 raised to the 3rd power. So what we're going to do is distribute the 3rd power. So 2 to the 3rd times 8 to the 3rd is what we're going to have. Okay, 3 times 6 raised to the 2nd power. So you'll distribute that square. So 3 squared times 6 squared. Okay, so now we're going to get a little more difficult with variables. So 9xy raised to the 2nd power. So we're going to distribute the 2nd power to all 3 terms. So 9 squared times x squared times y squared. So then we can actually go through and calculate what is 9 squared. So we would get 81 x squared y squared as our answer. All right, -4z to the 3rd power. Okay, so this, we're going to distribute the 3rd power. So I'm going to keep -4 in parentheses because I want to make sure I use parentheses when I calculate it. And then that would be times z to the 3rd. So -4 to the 3rd power is a -64. Then you would keep z to the 3rd. Okay, so this problem, -2 times 4z to the 3rd. So this -2 in front is not being raised to the 3rd power. So it's going to stay -2. And then I have to take 4 raised to the 3rd power and then z raised to the 3rd power. So I need to calculate 4 to the 3rd power, and that is 64. So -2 times 64 would be -128 z to the 3rd. Okay, so the last problem, 2x cubed to the 2nd power times x to the 4th. So I'm going to distribute that 2nd power. So I'm going to have 2 squared, and then x to the 3rd squared would be power to a power. So that would be x to the 3 times 2, which is 6. And then I have that times x to the 4th. So now I'm going to kind of combine what I've already done and take 2 squared, which is 4. And then when you multiply exponents, you are adding them. So x to the 6th plus 4. So my final simplified answer would be 4x to the 10th. Okay, so for your assignment, you guys are actually going to be doing worksheet 8.1.